our breathing, if I'm holding my breath versus if I'm not holding my breath, that's a completely different timbre to the sound.
What are you talking about right now, sir? I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to call BS on that one. That's insane. Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the reaction log. Whoa! Alright, this is a highly requested reaction to do on Julian Lage. Julian Lage, I think that's how you say his name. I don't really know much about him. I know he's like an amazing guitarist, I guess. I haven't really listened to much of his music, so I don't really know, so this is gonna be sort of first impressions. I've seen some shorts here and there, though. Like, I know he's good. A little bit about me. I'm a classical guitarist here on YouTube. Wow, I know. I like to make practice logs, like just sharing my practice with people. I also like to roast other guitarists on the internet. Like, they're supposed to just be reactions. Sometimes they turn into roasts, sometimes they turn into extreme adoration, but I just roast other things that aren't there playing. And in that, I've gotten a lot of requests. Some of them are kind of egging me on to do it. Some of them are saying, like, you won't do it. Like, this one comment here that I thought was really funny. Philip Hopper, 4885. You said, I know you're too scared to do a video on Julian Lage. It's okay to admit an electric guitar player is better than any classical guitar player that's ever existed. Is a big pill to swallow. How dare you, sir? And that can't be true. You might actually quit YouTube if you tried. One can only hope. Somebody even posted this on my Instagram. It was me playing the Morel Sonatina. Poor sound balance between strings, especially G and B. Ted Green and Julian Lage can improvise stuff you can only sight read, by the way. Sorry. You think I can sight read like a jazz solo that Julian Lage improvises? Are you serious right now? Especially if he improvises in a key like E flat or something. You think I can sight read that? You know, improvisation's cheap. I think writing music and reading music, that's the real test right there. You're putting maximal effort into just like little bits of music. You have all the time in the world. What's that like phrase? Composition is just improvisation, but without time. You know, improv, that's all I'm saying. Improv, you just kind of learn the language. It's like speaking right now. Talk is cheap, but if I were to write a paper on Julian Lage and roasting him, that'd be a lot more effort. It'd be a lot more vulnerable to do that. So, you know, that's my first thing. I'm gonna latch onto that for the classical elitism. Improv is stupid, unless it's like improvising a prelude or something, which is cool improv now. So this is Julian Lage, a guitar genius. This is posted by someone that all of you hate for some reason, Paul Davids. And you know why you guys hate him? Because he has 3.5 million subscribers and he's freaking rich, probably. Heck yeah, dude. I don't hate him. I think he's great. And I think his titles are hilarious too. Julian Lage, a guitar genius. I already know my title's gonna be the same title but with quotes around genius. Alright, let's get into this. Playing a telly, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary would be into that. He'd probably look at that and call it a Stratocaster though, knowing him. Also, I respect the clean headstock. That's very classical of you, Julian. I like a clean headstock too. That's why I hate Cordoba so much. I'm just gonna spew Cordoba hate all day over here. Hey, Cordoba, in case you haven't heard it enough, I don't like you. No, not that Cordoba. Ugh. God, that. It's disgusting. I hate it so much. Any guitar that has like a headstock ornament like that, ugh. And I kind of feel the same way about electric guitars too, just having the brand just front and center like that. It's just nasty. This guitar has more skin on it than Julian Lage has skin on his body. I mean, look at that thing. Jeez.
Playing fridge.
All right, Paul Davis, what do you got?
So I'm thinking of A major. And Lord knows what any of that is. I'm just moving, but...
Yeah, dude, I certainly don't know what A major is. None of you do either, I bet, probably. We're just playing notes.
Your bending feels...
Just thinking about boxes and stuff. Also, gotta notice, Fender headstock, present. I don't know about that, man.
Today I had the immense pleasure and honor to have Julian Lage in the studio. Julian is recognized as one of the greatest guitarists of this era, and he's known for his exceptional technical mastery. I've never seen anyone shred like him, to be honest.
He's alright.
And his expressive musicality will leave you speechless. So if you have the chance to go check him out playing live, I'm sure, just do it. You won't regret it. Anyway, for now, let's enjoy a conversation that turned into one of the most inspiring ones I've ever had. And it just shows you...
Even more than Jacob Collier? Dang, dude.
How deep the exploration of the guitar and the mind can go. Telly and the Strat.
Together at last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me in this guitar video. We're going to talk about the guitar.
Yes.
Heck yeah, dude. That is what we're here for. Let's jump right on into
That's
it.
going to be the main focus, but we're not too sure yet how to fly into the subject because there's so many things to talk about. Your whole
Yeah, I mean, there's like 6 strings first off. I mean, which string do you even start with?
Well, first of all, thank you for letting me be a part of this and doing this with me. I'm
Quit being so freaking humble, Julian Lage. What's your problem, dude? Get over yourself, Julian Lage.
I'm thrilled. And also I want to acknowledge what you say about touch on the instrument. That means a lot to me. That it's been meaningful to you,
Dude, you should just be like, yeah, you're welcome, bro. This is not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get more arrogant as you get better at guitar, not less, Julian. You're doing it all wrong, man.
I do think about touch a lot.
I think about touch a lot, too.
I think every guitar player does. You know, on some level, we understand whether theoretically or academically or just viscerally that this instrument is about translating movement. The way we touch it is usually the way it sounds and the way it feels. It's deeply mysterious, you know.
Yeah.
I don't...
I think it's one of the most direct instruments, maybe apart from the voice, that literally your finger is on the tone.
Yeah.
That's true, unless you're taking a piece of plastic to actually pluck the string, man. You know, actually, if we're gonna be fair here, it is a little weird on classical guitar. I wouldn't usually go against classical like this, but on electric guitar, you're taking metal strings, and then you are touching the string. But this part is sort of inconsequential. Like, I can hold that down with my freaking elbow if I wanted to, and it would sound the same. You know, it's all about how you stroke it there. Electric guitar, you have metal strings that you touch here, inconsequential, and then you use a piece of plastic and just ruin everything. We just make the strings plastic, so we're just like switching around where the plastic is. So there's always plastic involved. So I hate to say this, but maybe gut is the way to go.
A lot of other factors, apart from the fingers, affect the sound. Our breathing, if I'm holding my breath versus if I'm not holding my breath, that's a completely different timbre to the sound.
What are you talking about right now, sir? I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to call BS on that one. That's insane. I don't play anything that's longer than a minute because I have to hold my breath when I play. I'm gonna need an example of that, and it better be extreme.
It doesn't mean one's better than the other.
Sometimes when my leg is itching, my tone's a little worse. If I stub my toe, my tone gets a little worse too. I don't know.
They're just different, you know. There's some anatomical things that are kind of interesting when the breath is held and the ribs are kind of sucked in. Often the arms kind of get pulled in too, and there's a certain kind of
Tension.
Yeah, tensional balance in the arms that resolves in sometimes a stiffer movement. You know, like you're not like that. You're kind of shoving your hand around, you know, and that has a sound that affects your touch. You know, that affects your touch.
Will you give me one example of?
Yeah, can you freaking? You're speaking freaking gibberish over here. Give me something, dude. Holding your breath changes your guitar tone. Get out of here.
Well, I'll do my
Playing
best.
sort of the same phrases and then one very open.
Sure.
Puts one on the spot too. They're playing electric guitar too, so you know that tone's gonna sound like exactly the same. But let's see. I mean, I don't want to judge it too fast.
More.
Tighter. Let's see. Let me see if I can do that.
He's like, I was just kind of saying stuff. Let's see if this actually is true.
Here, I'll hold my breath and kind of bear down a little bit. Let's see what that sounds like.
Okay, wait, no. I feel like that compromises the experiment a little bit if you're also like bracing while holding your breath, because you don't even really need to hold your breath to do that.
Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way that sounds. You know, it's like I said before, it's not that one is better than the other.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna brace. I'm gonna let it all out. Oh god, I went hard. I think that might have affected my tone a little bit. I think he's right, actually. I was sort of losing it there. I was kind of... I let a lot of my air out. I had to recover.
What I noticed, though, is that through the course of the phrase, I'm getting fatigued. I can kind of feel it. I kind of feel
restless.
Yeah, restless.
I need to breathe.
Yeah, I need it.
Where's
Exactly.
the resolvement? We need.
Well, absolutely. And rather than just
You're trying to make it all musical now. We need to resolve.
what I inevitably do is I end up just playing more notes, as if this is going to save me.
That is actually what happened there when I was on the very last moments of holding my breath. I started playing way faster.
Okay, I notice I'm holding my breath. I notice I'm kind of doing that thing. It happens to all of us. It's natural.
Yeah.
If I, at those moments, just pause and kind of reorganize, so to speak, allow myself to just kind of recalibrate and then continue playing. So let's see if it sounds good. But
That's the nice thing about playing jazz, I guess, if you're improvising. You're allowed to just throw in some rests. In classical, you better hope that you're feeling uncomfortable towards the end of the phrase. It's tough being a classical guitarist, but it's a good path.
Start on the same A.
Sweet, yeah.
I didn't know that was an A. Yay. So, a little more open phrasing. Was it the breath that did it? Was it the intentions? Who knows? But definitely if you're holding your breath to an extreme, that's probably not a good idea. I would agree with that.
In those pauses, often I think there's a redirection musically that happens too.
What I did notice as well is you played more in clusters or more.
Yeah, wasn't that it?
Yeah,
True.
I did do that. I played very differently from what I last played.
That emerged as being what was appropriate in that moment, given the sound and the touch.
A sort of progression in your mind, or were you just leaning on the melody and giving it a sort of more substance with some bass notes here and there?
I think that. I think just adding substance as I went. It's funny because I don't know about you. I remember growing up and feeling like there was these kind of two camps. There was I got to make lines that are good, and then that's one camp. The other camp is I've got to play chords that are cool, and I've got to play bass lines and counterpoint, and they always seemed
Counterpoint.
different. Almost like one of these things where I had to earn the right to dabble in it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not good enough to do them together, so I'm gonna just keep playing lines. I'm gonna just do double stops, but very rarely together. And over the years, I do feel like I can kind of drop that. If I'm playing a line and I crave reinforcement, play it. If it's too thick, stop it.
I imagine that comes from the nature of playing in an ensemble, because that's a huge thing with because I have a little bit of jazz experience, not much, but that was a thing. If you're playing with a guitar and a pianist, usually it's one or the other in a combo. You don't have both. From my experience, I don't know what people do, but God, I remember playing with pianists even in non-jazz settings. I remember I would play at churches and they would you stay away from that low register. Your pianist, I've had pianists just get upset at me. You are looked down on if you don't just play in the upper registers. You're oh, are you some freaking cowboy chord? Freaking idiot. You can't even play your guitar right. And it's shut up. Your piano is only that big. It's just a bunch of times. That's easy for you. So yeah, that's the thing. So I could imagine that in the jazz world, just playing lines, then also playing chords, because of how muddy they can get on the guitar. Because guitar is a surprisingly low instrument. Do you guys know what the lowest note of the guitar is? Say it with me. E. It's the low E. It's this one. Do you know what the lowest note of the cello is? A bass clef reading instrument in orchestra? It's C, as in C, D, E. A major third lower. So guitar and cello are pretty close to each other. It's a very low instrument. It's easy to get really muddy, and especially with bass and piano, all that stuff playing at once. I can imagine as a guitarist when you're soloing, you'd want to just stick to lines. Guitar almost turns into a melodic instrument, like a trumpet or something, when it solos, and then it can just turn into a piano. And I think that's the cool thing about playing solo guitar, because you are able to play a lot of stuff on your own. You can have... I don't know. Nothing I play is going to sound anything close to what Julian Lage can do. But, you get my point.
The music fan brain that just hears stuff and says, that's cool, or that could be cooler, or I don't like that, or, and obviously not in a self-hating way or in a way that bogs you down, but I just remembering this is music and you got to play what you think is cool.
Facts. That's the problem with people like me making fun of other people, because it's who gave me the right? Google did, and I did. I made my YouTube channel. Get over it.
It's amazing how many times in my life I've wanted to play what I thought was cool, but maybe stopped because I thought there was theoretical agenda. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, why
yeah,
should
Dude, that is like the saddest thing I've ever heard, and it's so relatable too. You know, I'll be the classical elitist, but I hope that we can all hear that today and take that home with us. If you learn anything from this video, don't hold yourself back, and you are your worst enemy. I played guitar long before I learned much music theory or anything like that, and the kind of music that I would write when I was a teenager is just so different because I didn't have that filter at the time, but I feel that now I do have that sort of filter. Now, mind you, any music that I write now, it's going to be like way technically better, and it's going to make way more sense than anything I would have written as a teenager. But in it being technically better, it's more derivative now of just the standard stuff that's written. I look through some of the stuff I wrote as a teenager, and like some of it sucks, but it is unique. It is a sound that didn't exist, and it doesn't exist now other than just in my private files. So I kind of appreciate it for that.
bebop lines? I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't play an open string, right?
Yeah, because you in jazz there's sort of the bending.
Oh,
thing.
yeah,
And
sure.
so I've heard about stories where jazz teachers said no bending.
Oh yeah, of course. Which, like, you shouldn't do that if you're trying to play in like the bebop style. Anything you learn in classical or in jazz or whatever doesn't have to be like who you are as a musician. And it's certainly not bad to learn more about those genres and stuff, but just remember that that's not everything. Music is ultimately your expression. It's your voice, and you craft your voice by learning other music that then infects your voice in some way. But even though it's infecting it, your voice is still there. Learning other stuff makes it a little more sophisticated. Like, I think if Barrios knew a lot less about music theory and composition and stuff, his music would still kind of sound like Barrios. It would just be much less refined. You just have to ask yourself, how much refinement do you want in your music? Like, if you're a punk artist or whatever, you probably don't want much refinement. Though I do believe that you can not want much refinement and still become very refined and learn how to turn it off and kind of go back. I do believe that's possible. So don't be afraid of learning either.
Something that happened to you? Or?
Well, I never was good. I never bent a lot to begin with. I kind of have a stoic hand. I just kind of plop down. But
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna use that line. Yeah, I have a stoic hand. I'm kind of a stoic guy. I have the philosopher's hand. What can I say?
heard those stories, and I've had friends who went through that experience. And to me, it's so ridiculous because if we're going to be historical about it, you know, you go back to George Barnes, who was one of the greatest kind of founders of jazz guitar. To my understanding, he was the first recorded electric jazz guitar player on a Big Bill Brunsey record. I think he was about 16. I forget the name of the song. But anyway, he plays a solo, and it's fantastic. But he's bending. I mean, like, really wild.
Isn't that hilarious how the genre and how it's taught or not taught, like in university settings, when it comes to jazz and even classical too, it's defined by some snot-nosed 16-year-old coming in and recording their stupid little solo. But just in that genre, that will be remembered forever, and we will teach based on how that person was playing when he was like 16. It's kind of funny. It's kind of ridiculous. But okay, apparently he was bending. I remember in my jazz classes, there was no bending. You don't bend strings.
And so you'll see historically that was in the vocabulary.
Yeah.
So even a notion like that, yeah, requires investigation.
But I think your bendings are one of the most recognizable in the game. It's because is it something you deliberately? It's your bending feels like
Hey, watch yourself now. What are you gonna say?
deliberately, and I'm not
No,
meaning
please,
this
please.
like out of tune.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like
Oh my god, dude. What a freaking insult. And Julian Lage is like, oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh my god. He just goes back to all of his records and he's like, oh my god, they're all out of tune. Oh my god.
very blue, like and for a
Whoa, did you guys see that? Gotta look at that
meaning
again.
this,
Please, please.
like
Yeah,
like
totally.
very blue, like and for a long time
He's firing shots over there, literally.
as well. Sometimes you
Yeah.
never even reach the point that I
No.
feel like you're going to.
Yeah, totally. You're on to me.
But
Yeah.
But I love it. It's-
I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, pitch is a funny thing. I don't have perfect pitch, far from it. But there are.
yeah, exactly. That
There are
is
there are
exactly
colors.
what I mean. I love that.
But also sometimes, full disclosure, I think, is that I might be trying to just bend in tune. You know, realizing that I'm, you know, two notes aren't in tune, and I'm trying to get one closer. That's an example of. I know that's deliberately rubbing, you know.
Yeah.
But it's, for me, it sounds really nice, especially when you're going to something so wholesome.
With resolution.
That's a resolution, right?
Is there anything more wholesome than major chords? All right, I think this is a pretty good place to end this one off. I think, much like the Jacob Collier one, we are going to finish this later. You know, it's not going to be parts. We're just going to do it whenever. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. If you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. And hey, want some guitar lessons? I'll teach you how to play classical guitar. So email me about that. By the way, lots of time Friday morning, Eastern Standard Time, 10 through 12, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock slots. Those are open right now. A lot of the weekdays filled up. There's little places that you can jump in if you want to secure a spot. So just send me an email for that. They're hour-long lessons. You can do either bi-weekly or weekly. And yeah, head on down over to Rutin's Delight, pick yourself up some merch. The store is still alive. It's not a dead website. You can buy merch there. It's great. Okay, anything else before I go? I think we're good. I'll see you in the next one.